Normally when we do COVID, I give you the numbers and then I show you some clips of things that happen, but it's going to be different. Just hours ago, a federal judge voids the mask mandate on planes and public transit. Now remember, it's supposed to be from May 3rd, but a judge in Florida decided to block that. That means, what that means is, you're no longer required to wear masks on planes, buses, and subways. But just several hours ago, I saw a Facebook post from the RTA, from the CCRTA. If those who don't know what that means, it stands for the Corpus Christi Regional Transport Authority. So, this is what it said 7 hours ago. It says CCRT is aware of today's federal judge ruling overturning the CDC's mask mandate. However, CCRTA adheres to the TSA's mask requirements in the public transportation works. We will continue to require masks throughout our system until we are notified by the TSA to lift the mask requirement. The mask requirement is in effect until through May 3rd. And there's 18 comments like, Nikki, mask. I think this is retarded. We shouldn't have to wear a mask if the judge overturned it. We are humans. We have rights. I agree with you. Marshall C. Barnes. It would sure be nice if the frequencies went back post March 2020. I vote several times a day for 15 years, but rescheduled schedules. Misconnection with absolute cluster. You turned 6 points into a May ride once a month. Zachary Taylor Prescott with a picture. This is proof that the TSA is not forcing it. Look it up, really. Just a CCRT trying to make false advertising and make false statements. Clearly what's said in the post by CCRTA saying TSA forcing it until May 4th. But clearly they're not. And people asking, when is this all going to go back to normal? I basically said in 2 weeks from Tuesday. And then I basically went on there, and I went out on the blue. So, let's play the clip.
Favor and get what you really want.
Masks are not required on airplanes. The travel mask mandate was struck down. Masks are not required on airplanes after the travel mask mandate was struck down. That means the TSA will not enforce the rule at airports and other transportation hubs. The news comes after a federal judge in Florida.
Sorry about that,
Masks are not required on airplanes after the travel mask mandate was struck down. That means the TSA will not enforce the rule at airports and other transportation hubs. The news comes after a federal judge in Florida today ruled that the CDC exceeded its authority and failed to follow proper rulemaking. The question now is, will the federal government appeal that decision? Well, the Association of Flight Attendants is weighing in tonight, urging calm from passengers, saying it usually takes 24 to 48 hours to implement new procedures. The CDC still recommends masks for all travelers. Now, all this comes as COVID-19 cases are once again on the rise, driven by that BA2 subvariant. CBS's Nikki Batiste is going to start us off from Philadelphia, where an indoor mask mandate was just reinstated. There's a lot to get news to get to. Good evening, Nikki.
Nora, good evening. We are just getting clarity from the administration on that judge's ruling today, saying they are reviewing the judge's order but that for now, the TSA will not enforce the mask mandate on public transportation. And adding to all of that confusion, as you mentioned, there is a new mask mandate here in Philadelphia that took effect today. That means about 20,000 fans here to see the 76ers play tonight will have to mask up once again. You can now fly or ride the buses and trains mask-free. The move comes just hours after a federal judge in Florida ruled it was unlawful. Today, a U.S. district judge said the court accepts the CDC's argument that masks will limit COVID-19 transmission, but that alone was not sufficient to exceed the agency's authority. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Celine Gounder says it's still too soon.
We don't know how the BA2 variant is going to play out across the country. As of right now, my advice as a physician to anybody traveling on a plane would be to continue wearing a mask when you're traveling on public transportation, including on an airplane.
Meanwhile, Philadelphia is the only U.S. city bringing back indoor masks as a precaution. There has been a 67% increase in COVID cases in the last 10 days. That's an average of over 200 COVID cases per day.
I think it's a mistake.
Philadelphia restaurant owner Yehuda Seychelle is concerned the revived mandate will hurt business again.
When masks were mandated, people are less inclined to go out to the city specifically. The city, there's a lot of people that live in the city, but really the city thrives off people coming from the suburbs.
A group of 22 business owners and residents is suing the city, seeking to overturn the mask mandate.
Philadelphia actually did away with the CDC guidelines as a standard, and they've invented their own guidelines. They're making this stuff up.
In response to the lawsuit, the city says it has the legal authority.
The role of the CDC is really to provide minimum guidelines in terms of what is safe. So a city like Philadelphia can decide to be more aggressive about what they require, and other places might choose not to be so aggressive.
It is now up to individual airlines to decide if they will require masks. Delta, United, and Alaska Airlines are the first to say, effective immediately, that passengers do not have to wear masks on their planes. But just to reiterate, Nora, the CDC does still recommend wearing a mask on public transportation. Nora?
Nikki Batiste with all that news. Thank you.
That's some really good news. But over 6,000 new cases for 44 deaths in the state. In Oasis County, 18 cases, new cases, no new deaths. Mask up, hand wash, social distance, whatever you need to do until May 3rd. Well, coming up next, in Corpus Christi, have you ever had a problem with drinking water? Well, Michael Gibson on that drinking water. And then the cause of the power outage here in Flower Bluff. A squirrel. Right after this. Up front tonight, did you drink water today? If you have drank water, you may have noticed something. Lake Corpus Christi is using Colorado's water. That's because of Lake Corpus Christi. They've lost over 20% of water since last August. We'll show you about that in a minute. But first, here's Michael Gibson with some water news just for you. And keep in mind, though, I mean, water is water no matter where it came from. If it's got to be transferred, it's got to be transferred.
Again tonight with news that the city is making some changes to our drinking.
Is here now with more details in our top story.
Well, your taste buds could soon be in for another shock as the city is doing its monthly addition of Colorado River water to our drinking water system. Officials say that water should reach your home sometime by Wednesday. Now, if you remember back in January when the city did that, there were complaints of the water being yellow in color and tasting something like pine. City officials explained that the color and odor were actually due to freezing weather and a lack of a certain chemical in the water treatment process. Now, since then, there haven't been any problems.
We weren't able to use a particular cleaning agent for the water. Those two things had an impact, and people noticed some color difference and also a little bit of an odor difference. That hasn't happened since then.
That was City Manager Peter Zanoni, and he also tells 3 News that he doesn't expect any noticeable changes to occur this time around. We're also told that this water blend is going to continue to be used well into the future. It's going to be added to our system at least 3 times each month. The city's water director tells 3 News that the more water used from Lake Colorado and or Lake Texana, the less water required from Choke Canyon and Corpus Christi reservoirs, which have both seen their levels drop off over the past 6 months. Back to you, Leslie.
All right, Michael, thank you so much.
And this comes after Lake Corpus Christi lost 20% of the water last August. So let's take a look at this.
On water and what Michael was just talking about. According to the Texas Water Development Board, Lake Corpus Christi has lost nearly 20% of its water since August of last year. The lake serves as one of our many sources of drinking water and is 67% full today. 6 months ago, it was nearly 87% full. But we're in a much better position than we were a year ago, as the reservoir was just around 44% full.
Wow. That's good. So, probably no wish you need to be there, but taking Colorado water because of a chemical as a cleaning agent, hey, let's solve this problem. Let's go to Colorado, sneak some water in our shirts, and then dump it in the lake. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's great. Let's go back to COVID for just a second here, because it was a great day for Citrus Pond Shoreline. They celebrate 0 COVID-19 patients. That's relief.
When you step into it,
it's a great relief, really. That's been 0 in 2 years. But today, that happened. Let's watch.
Some COVID-19 headlines now. Some great news coming out of Citrus Pond Shoreline tonight as the hospital celebrated their first day without a COVID patient, something that hasn't happened in over 2 years. The system says it's a major milestone in all the hard work that their teams have been doing over the last 2 years in keeping our communities safe. They add that while they are not currently treating any COVID-19 patients, that it's important to remember that the virus is still present and for folks to continue doing their best to keep themselves and others healthy and safe.
And added nearly 2.
That's some really great news. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, you better do so, because you could get in trouble for a 5% fee. Just remember that. It's illegal not to pay taxes, but don't we all have choice? Precisely, we do have choice. We have choice. We have no right. If we don't want to pay taxes, then we don't have a right to pay taxes. Everyone should have a right not to do what they want to do. I mean, speaking of property tax increasing, it's affecting home more than 160,000 residents locally. And if you live in Corpus, you're expected to see changes happening. Will you return a power outage here in Flower Bluff? You will not believe what happened. Lexus Green goes to Flower Bluff to look for squirrel outage. Did you lose power today here in Flower Bluff? Well, that includes me, as I live here in Flower Bluff. At least minutes later, the power got on. I mean, the power went on at 8:44 and did not come on until 9 after. But what was the cause? Because Lexus Green tells us they're nuts and they have like real good teeth. And you're also going to meet that special someone who knows. And you're also going to meet someone who spoke freely to Channel 3 about what happened. And keep in mind, squirrels are very dangerous. And it can be very funny. It is kind of funny to me. One person said it was a squirrel. One person said it was a squirrel, and I was thinking to myself it was a Doug joke. So here's Lexus Green.
Hey Leslie, well this time it wasn't the wind causing power outages, leaving folks to eat their cereal in the dark this morning. It was something a little bushier.
Squirrel.
According to AEP, a circuit trip this morning just before 9 a.m. affecting over 4,600 customers in the Flower Bluff area. One of those residents was a mother home with her 3 kids because of the holiday, and they weren't sure what happened, but glad it didn't last long.
I was about to make breakfast, and next thing I know, the power's out, and we waited about 20 or 30 minutes, and then the next thing I know, it's back on, and we were ready to get on with the day.
According to AEP, their crews responded quickly to restore as soon as they found the cause, and power was back in about an hour.
And we were told that it was due to some squirrels causing an issue on a transformer or a circuit breaker. Don't have the exact information that the squirrels caused the issue, but they were able to get it corrected.
According to ESD number 2's Assistant Fire Chief Wes Beceda, nearly 50% of Flower Bluff was without power during this morning's outage. Leslie, Rudy, back to you.
All right, Lexus, thank you for that update. Other news now.
That was outrageous. Squirrels eating the power. That was outrageous. That's outrageous. How could a squirrel climb onto the wire? They would have to like climb upside down. Oh, wow. But let's move on to something different now. As you may remember, almost a week ago, we focused in on a student who posted a racist threat from a white person saying he would bring a gun and shoot every African American. I mean, this was yesterday. Yesterday, Plymouth Catholic students walked out of class Friday demanding more action from the school district after the release of the video with racist language and threats against black students. Now remember, the superintendent said there's not an active threat, but the students say more needs to be done. Take a look.
And first tonight, hundreds of students making their voice heard and standing up to a racist threat. Good evening and thank you for staying with us tonight. I'm Glenda Lewis.
And I'm Brian Abel. Plymouth Canton students walking out of class. They are demanding more action from their district in response to a disturbing video containing racist language and threats against black students.
The threat impacting students at 3 different schools, Plymouth, Salem, and Canton high schools.
7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig in Canton after speaking to students and parents.
A spokesperson for the district will not say if they are moving to expel the student or how soon he may be expected back to school. What we do know is that the Wayne County prosecutor is now reviewing the case.
It's happened over and over and over. And guess what? We don't pay attention to it. What we do is we get used to these things. We don't need to get used to these things.
Salem High School student Jacob Jackson helped organize today's protest on the combined campus that includes Plymouth and Canton High School. Students walked out of class 22 minutes early in protest of a video posted to social media so vile we can't even play it. But on it, a Plymouth High School student uses the N-word to call for the killing of black people.
I was not only disgusted, but like I said before, I was not surprised.
I felt disgusted. I felt unsafe. The things that was said, I was just like, I go to school with this kid. I walk past this kid. How you know somebody, I didn't know somebody like that could just say them words. It's hurtful. And it's scary because you can wake up and anything can happen.
This is nothing new to any of the black students at this campus.
The district acknowledges that this is not the only racist incident that has happened this school year.
Kids in our school has been called the N-word and we have caught the person and there's yet nothing to happen to them at all.
It shouldn't be accepted for people to just drop slurs or call us names or call us out of our name and think that's normal. It's not okay at all.
I truly feel that we need some really deep diversity training here. We need people to understand that everybody is not the same, and that's the beautiful thing about people.
And while the student handbook says that a student making a verbal threat will be subject to discipline up to expulsion for a period of up to 180 school days, they will not say what action has been taken against the student in the video.
Threats like that makes me not safe to come at school at all. Like, it makes me and my mom really, like, she was about to pull me out.
And it's too soon to tell what, if any, charges the student will face. Canton police say they have forwarded their case to prosecutors.
Think he should be expelled from school, charged criminally, or what?
Both.
In Canton, Kimberly Craig, 7 Action News.
And it's a real big issue.
Finally, our honeymoon.
And it's a real big issue going on. I mean, that's why kids are scared to go to school, because of bullying and being involved in race. So yeah, the superintendent said there was the threat, and they're not doing anything about it. So the police and the prosecutors are doing whatever they can, and we'll bring you up to speed here as this goes along. I hate racism. I didn't even want to talk about it. But after I showed you that clip weeks ago from Primetime Live on this channel, I'm sorry, I had to cross that line. Now onto something that can happen. You're happy. You're having a baby. Imagine this: you're having a baby. You play baseball. And then, all of a sudden, you want it to be a girl. But what if you realize that it was blue? You hit the ball and showed blue powder, and you go to your team, your woman is standing right there, and you didn't even hug her. That's exactly what happened yesterday. Watch this. Let me tell you something. A newborn child is the greatest gift ever in the world. The feeling when you first have your first child, it's like that. Take a look.
Eggs are the main character of these unusual...
Oops. Sorry about that. There we go.
It's a boy, but the dad-to-be is so excited at his baseball-themed gender reveal, he runs right over to his buddies, totally ignoring the pregnant mom-to-be. He carries on with the bros while she's pushed to the side. Hey, what about me? Social media was quick to pounce. Should be a moment between the ma and dad first, before the boys, goes one comment. You deserved better than this, goes another. And here's the couple today, Hannah Calverley and Travis Gober, and he's got some splaining to do.
Travis, what were you thinking in that moment?
I was just really shocked it was a boy because I really thought it was going to be a girl. In the moment, yeah, I wish I could go back and change it, but we all know I love her.
And how does Hannah feel about being second fiddle at her gender reveal?
I know Travis is a really great guy, and, you know, a 15-second video definitely does not show his character.
The 15-second character does not even show. Alright, how much time do we got left? Okay, we have plenty of time. We got some time for some school threats. I mean, that's the main reason why we talk about this show. I mean, we only talked about one that's been updated, and now there's more. But just 3 days ago, the school district requires to say students who make threats will return. They'd rather just sweep it under the carpet. That's what we talked about. But 13 hours ago, two Northfield, Florida high school students cleared after receiving bomb threats. The students have been cleared to return to the classroom. The deputies searched for explosive devices. Officials say someone called 911 report. person agent discovered the package had wires to hang on to 2 schools deemed saved. Suspect used an app that is untraceable for CCSO. Swanee and Okeechobee also with C-bomb threats. At Earl Warner Junior High, threats of violence remain against the staff. Students at Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield police are investigating a threat made against staff and students at Earl Warren Junior High. According to BBD, threats of violence were made by social media and targets April 19th. The fidelity of threats is unstable at this time. Police will maintain a presence throughout the neighborhood and at school sites during investigation. Dothan City Schools and Dothan Police are investigating the threat that happened, which has happened yesterday. After a brief investigation, the police have found the origin of threats online made against the academy. Juveniles in charge of terrorists got through the age suspect. No more information because of a minor. According to DSC School of College, juvenile could face expulsion from school for the threat. The threat tells people to look out for a student with a gun. The police say they expect to release more information later Sunday night. And after that, there's an update. A juvenile from News Report, juvenile arrested a threat against Dothan Preparatory Academy. This happened on Sunday happened on Sunday. The arrest was made after a threat was made against Preparatory Academy social media. Police say they launched an investigation after the post was made Sunday, and the source of the threats did never come to social media account belonging to a juvenile student. They've since been charged with terroristic threats. Because of the suspect, no information is currently available. The school said they will not tolerate threats of any nature. And a 13-year-old is in custody after a threat to Reedsport schools. In Oregon, a 13-year-old boy was taken into custody over a threat made to Reedsport schools. The official said the boy attends charter school and he was taken to Douglas County Juvenile Detention and is facing multiple charges. No additional precautions required at this time, but according to the police, the matter is resolved and looking into larger issues surrounding the incident. The case reportedly involves social media platforms and was time-consuming and challenging. However, police say they want the public to know that they take threats against schools and students seriously. All schools take this very, very seriously, and so do the police. So like I said before, if you think you get a poster threat, fake or real, not only will you get out of school, but you will go to jail. We come back. Did you give a baby chicks and ducklings at Easter? Well, you forgot to think twice. Finally, Steven, did you think twice before giving out baby chicks and ducklings at Easter? If you did, good. But if not, take a look at this.
As cute as can be. Newborn baby chicks and ducklings are as synonymous with Easter as bunnies or coloring Easter eggs. But should these little guys really be part of your family's Easter holiday tradition? Anthrozoologist and animal activist John DeLeonardo says the answer is a definite no.
These little guys, they're cute, but they're not pets.
So what's the big deal? After the Easter holiday comes and goes, nature takes its course and the chicks and ducklings keep growing. And that's the problem because they're often abandoned in the wild when people realize just how much care it takes to raise them.
I think a lot of people, they think if they're buying them and releasing them, that they're doing a good thing. But what they don't realize is these animals can't fly. They can't migrate. They can't survive in the wild.
Inside this pet store on Long Island, we found lots of baby birds for sale.
They are so adorable. How old are they?
They're 3 or 4 days old. That's right. They're less than a week old. They boxed them up for us. 2 baby chicks and 2 ducklings. The cost? less than $50 for all 4. But this expert says selling these little fuzzballs in that small quantity at such a young age violates state law that's designed to discourage impulse buying around Easter.
It's cruel and it's illegal.
Don't worry, the birds we purchased were taken to this bird sanctuary, where they'll get all the tender love and care they need. The lesson? They may seem like the perfect Easter gift, but really they're not when you consider that they're totally defenseless in the wild.
I agree with you there. Tomorrow, which is today, we're back at Hornet Field. The last show of the outdoor for the season. Now, don't worry, and we're only gonna do it tomorrow, but not Friday. Why? Because of the wind. Forecast calls for 20 to 30 mile per hour winds. That can be very dangerous. As you see my outdoor shows, you may notice the wind. You may be using Gorilla Tape. That's because it's trying to hold the camera down because of the wind. And you guys can think, could you hire a cameraman? Well, if I had the money, then sure, but I'm a one-man operation. Look for that tomorrow. That's all this edition of Give Me a Break Monday going to Tuesday. We'll see you again tomorrow for Give Me a Break Tuesday. Follow us here at YouTube and give me a break. Good night.